about this love. About this love.
How you guys doing today? You are tuned into About This Love podcast with myself, Dale, and my beautiful wife, Sherelle. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, peoples?
Thank you guys for joining us on today. We hope you guys enjoyed the last episode. On today's episode, we wanted to touch on standards, how they have differed from now, from the 1950s. And without further ado,
Yeah, so we're continuing the conversation about standards. The last couple of episodes, we talked about having financial standards. And I know last week's episode, we were really getting into, the influencer lifestyle. But I came across this article on Reader's Digest about 17 ridiculous dating etiquette rules from the 1950s. And I wanted to go through them and really see how the 1950s like rules while dating differ from what we're doing now and what we really have come away from. A lot of people like to say relationships aren't what they used to be in the day. My grandparents actually got married in the 50s.
oh
Oh,
wow,
no, sorry, don't get me lying. They got married in the 60s because I think my grandmother was, no, my,
it was alive in the 50s.
they were alive in the 50s and they were, they were in their teenage years in the 50s, but they got married, I think, at 21 or at the age of 20 and had their first child at the age of 21, which is my mother. And so I was just thinking about like, what were the standards back then versus now? And they have been married now 50 plus years, probably 53 years in a couple days.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, could you imagine like us being married for anybody actually nowadays? I think Kimye just got divorced, or
Kanye?
yeah, Kanye and Kim.
You say Kanye.
Kimye, yeah, that's their.
I thought you were talking about somebody new.
Oh no, that's their name. You haven't heard of Kimye?
No,
Oh,
I
what?
don't follow them.
Or Brangelina.
Per our last episode, I don't follow social media influencers or celebrities like that. I don't even know half the people I see in movies. I don't even know their real name. I just know their name in the movie. I mean, I know like certain ones like Morgan Freeman, but that's besides the point.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, so nowadays you're not seeing, people stay together even in everyday life, for a long time. And so I'm just thinking, let's look at like the dating standards of why we've come away from some of the things of old that we have, you know, we've become lax in those areas, and how we might want to think about or consider readopting them.
I think for one, social media. Social media has given many people the illusion of having many options, and while that may be deceptive, to see that you got 25,000 different women have naked on social media and you can DM them. I think the reality is that social media has given people a lot of us the facade that there's many options out there. And the reality of it is it's just not true. This the shallowness of our generation and of our culture. But I think social media does a great job in that and giving you an illusion, which is what people want. They want a lie. They want an illusion. They want to think that you can have the bad big booty chick on Instagram and she's a good wife and house mom and ABC and D, and it's like the reality of it is nah. That's what jokers are just faking. But I'm sorry, I don't want to go on a little rabbit trail and
She's
yada
a
yada
good
yada.
house mom.
Housewife, house mom, housewife.
Oh, I was like, what's the house mom? Okay.
A mom who stay at home. Or a mom who play
No,
house.
but or playhouse. No, I know what you mean. Like someone who keeps house, but also stay at home with the kids and things like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't want to get away from the article, but I definitely get what you're saying. So the first thing that they put on the list was making the first move. So it says like the guys were supposed to make the first moves, and only the floozies asked guys out on the first date. And I guess floozies were like, loose women or fast women.
Oh, wow.
I used to call people floozies, but not because they were like fast women, but just, it was slang back in high school.
I don't even want to ask why or how, when.
Like, I don't know, like fake people or, I used it as to say fake people, fake friends, or floozies.
So something that you thought she made up.
Yeah, I always thought I was an originator, but whatever. So what do you think about like making the first move? And is that something that a standard that we would keep or, try to instill in our children that like our boys should make the first move, or what do you think?
When you said that, I thought about the video you showed me on, I can't remember if it was, TikTok or, YouTube where the woman proposed to the man. I was like, yeah, that's stuff. Like, yo, if I was her, I'm like, no, I'm not marrying you. I think, did we, I think we watched the beginning of a movie on, yeah, on Netflix. You know how now when you watch Netflix, it'll show you like a little trailer in the movie. And one of it was a woman who proposed to a guy in front of like a big crowd. He was like, no, I won't marry you. But it's like, I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. Like, that's like, I ain't no chump. You don't propose to me. I mean, if you're going to propose to me if you're a woman, you're going to propose to a man, do it in private, but don't do it in public. So that's kind of like, I ain't no chump. I ain't no sucker. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no wussy.
Oh, that makes you feel like a chump
Mm,
if I was to propose to you?
I mean, you didn't propose to me. I proposed to you, so that's irrelevant.
No, but you would feel like a chump. I mean, I never thought about that.
I mean, I think it's just desperation because I think about a scripture in the book of Isaiah when it says, just give us your name. And I think it speaks to a level of desperation because as a woman, you don't have trust that the man will take the lead and ask you to marry him. So you jump the gun and ask him to marry you. And I think that's just, I mean, maybe for some it floats their boat or they're okay with that. But I was old fashioned. My wife, she'll tell you, I asked her father and her grandfather, who's also a father to her, could I have her hand in marriage? And they both gave me their blessings. And from there, I proceeded to ask her, I proposed to her. So I think that I'm just old fashioned in that way. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy that that's actually considered old fashioned because I wouldn't be able to see it any other way of me proposing. And that's just me. That's just my idea of a proposal of marriage. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to go down, but that wasn't, something that I would have thought to do. But I think in this case, as far as the article is concerned, like making the first move as far as, maybe the girl sees the guy and then she goes after him instead of him approaching her. I've also heard things over the years where, women have been surrounded by like their friends or they're always around a big crowd where a guy would be afraid to, like approach her because it's like
Not in 2021. I mean, social media, everybody got at least two or three different social media platforms. So that's not the case anymore. Even so, you can like ask them for their number. I mean, that's not, I mean, I hear you. I'm trying to be understanding, but not in 2021. No.
I'm thinking about maybe like my early 20s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, my early 20s. So this about what, 10 years ago? Oh gosh, this was 10 years ago. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah,
You old now. Dirty 30.
I'm 30 young, y'all. So anyways,
Dirty 30.
I just turned 30 young. And so, whatever. You're a hater, deal. Okay, so the next one is respond quickly. So they say when someone asks you out, you're supposed to give an immediate response and have it to be polite. With today's online dating, not responding could mean you're ghosting someone, which is still considered rude. You know what I think about in the age of social media? It's this thing where people see what you're doing. And because, we have a couple of business pages, definitely check out She Can Create Handmade.shop, support my small business. We have a couple of different social media pages on different platforms, and I look at the algorithm. I see how many people are engaging with our posts versus actually seeing our posts
And responding.
and responding. Yeah. And so
It's crazy because you might have like 200 or some people visit a post or see your post, but like 2 likes. And it's like, yeah, you kind of wonder if maybe it's just like haters, like they praying for your downfall. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and see what they're doing, but I ain't gonna support them.
I mean, it's because it's like it's so instant, it's quick. Everyone's putting out like 7 to 10 different posts or content a day. And it got to capture the person's attention in the first few seconds. And so, people's attention spans are shorter. I mean, I know that if someone calls or texts me, if I don't do it right there, I'll forget. And I'm not being rude. I'll just forget.
Yeah. I mean, but we also got like 3 kids too, so it's like
Well,
9
that's
times out
why.
of 10, I'm not gonna probably be able to respond right away. Like the other day, somebody called me 8 times, and they were like, "I've been calling you ABCD," and I was like, "Well, did somebody die? Like, what's going on? Is it an emergency?" Because it's like, one, I'm at work, and two, if it's an emergency, don't call me. Call call the whoever you should be calling. Depending on the situation, like whether it's the police or the ambulance, but it turned out to be neither. So I'm like, yeah, I was at work. Why you calling me 8 times? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that could be like someone who cried wolf, because I definitely wouldn't blow up your phone 8 times to just talk with you unless you was ignoring me. Then that's a whole different
But how would you
conversation.
know if I was ignoring you that?
I, I don't know. I don't know. But nah, I mean, if you don't pick up the first time, then you ignore me. Well, nah, not if you're at work. You supposed to just see I'm calling and know it's important.
So do you agree or disagree with the respond quick?
I think it shows respect, that you respect somebody's time. I would say yes. Like you were saying, in
Whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
ages.
whoa, whoa. You just gave this whole spiel about you
No, no,
being
no,
busy.
no. In dating, when you're dating somebody, I think if somebody is dating, I think you should respond quickly. Just as far as, like,
To a
hey,
text, to an email, like respond quick how?
I don't know, however they're
What if
communicating.
you're at work and you can't have your phone?
Okay, well then we'll respond then.
So it's
Dale,
circumstantial then.
anyways, it is circumstantial, but I don't mean you need to respond that second. You
Okay,
see it,
okay. I thought
not that
I
second.
thought that's what you were saying.
No, but I'm just saying, like, in a timely manner, because like back in the day, in my early 20s when I was dating,
Back in the day.
I mean, it's been 10 years.
Back in the day in 1945.
Dale, I guess it is back in the day. It's been 10 years now. So back in the day, in my early 20s of dating, I remember if I would text someone and they took like a week to respond, I'm like, what are you doing in life? Like, where you cannot get back to me? Like,
That
those.
means you got other options.
Exactly. So at least you show you're interested. Because I think what the problem is nowadays is that people are afraid to even show interest because it'll show weakness or
Or they be
vulnerability.
playing games. Like I remember one time I was when I was in college. This chick was like, "Yeah, I saw you call me, but I didn't want to seem desperate." I'm like, "Yo, I don't even know you. I'm just trying to call you to get to talk to you because I know you. Like, why are you playing games for?
Mhm.
Come on, man.
I think in the 90s, I forget what movie it was, in the late 90s,
Do you play that game?
maybe it was two can play that game. It was like, don't call like 3 days after you get somebody's number, and the rule is this and that. Or maybe that was early 90s, I mean late 90s, early 2000s, but it was just so many rules that it's just kind of like, and you'll see towards the end of that movie, they were just like, forget the rules, like I want the relationship. Like,
Yeah,
forget,
yeah,
forget this game. I want the relationship. And because they both were ending up losing at the end.
yeah, yeah.
So so you're absolutely right. I think, not like, maybe not that second, but at least acknowledge the person, even if you're going to turn them down. Like, even if you realize you're not feeling it, I think that having a little bit more respect. I had a client who told me that she went out on a date with a guy and the date went so horribly that she called him to tell him how horrible the date was. And then that phone call gave him an opportunity to explain the misunderstanding. Like, he explained how he was, I guess in school. And so he used the coupon to take them out, but because he really wanted to take them out, but she seen it as him being cheap. And so he was just like, well, no, like I'm in school. And so, but I really did want to take you out.
And long story short, they ended up getting married.
Long story, you didn't know that though.
You told me that.
You didn't know that. Either way, long story short, guys, because he jumped the gun, they ended up getting married and, have children now. And they're in a beautiful
But
marriage.
you told me that one time somebody asked you for your number and you gave it to them just to be nice.
I did.
Yeah, you told me that.
Did I know you at the time? Did this
No,
happen when I knew
no,
you?
no. I'm talking before I was on the scene. He was like, cause I was like, why would you give somebody your number if you didn't really want to talk to him? He was like, well, I just want to be nice. I think I would be nice, or you didn't want like him to like, do something crazy, or something like you just like, well, I didn't want to like ghost him in front of people or like play him in front of friends or whatever. So I just gave him my number.
I don't know. That might not have been me
That was
because,
you. That was you.
no, let me tell you, because I would give a fake number. Like, I
Yeah, I
would.
think you might have gave him a fake number. Yeah, you might have given a fake. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was
You
about to
gave him
say,
a fake
I don't
number.
think I gave out my real number if if I thought they was crazy.
Try to get somebody a number. Try to get somebody a fake number in 2021. They go, hold on, let me call you real quick to make sure you got my number locked in.
Man, what? No, no. I think it's even worse because like, let me just follow you on social media because people could just call you
I'm like, I
through
don't have a social media
Instagram.
page.
Yeah,
I
for
don't believe in
real.
social media.
Okay, so the next one is no excuses. So what they say about this is never break a date without providing a valid reason. Not interested in meeting up with someone, you're going to have to come up with something better than needing to wash your hair. Ladies, you know hair day is a thing. It can take some time to just get your hair done. So I can see that being a valid excuse. But I get that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dale. But I feel like that shows a level of honor that it goes back to
Man, please, man.
what?
If you're a scrub, like, man,
No, no. If somebody gave you not an excuse, but like I was telling you just previously, the story I was just saying, hey, I'm really not feeling you, and not in a rude way. Because there was this text message thread that was floating around on Facebook a few weeks back that I wanted to actually talk with you about, and I showed it to you. I wanted to do a podcast episode about it. It was basically this guy explaining like, "Hey, we can be friends," but not just we could be friends. He explained like, "Hey, we could be friends. I don't think that we will mess well because of A, B, C, D, and E." And I think when people do that, they are like humbly like coming to someone and saying like, I really don't think that we will mesh well, but I'm still open to getting to know you as a friend. And I think people underestimate that boundary because like friend zone, you don't want to be friend zone.
the only problem with that I would see if a woman wants to be with a man and you're trying to friend zone her, it's like, I don't want to be a friend. I'm trying to be with you. And vice versa with a man. Like, because they always say like, so some dudes will stick around for years to wait for the opportunity, which I think is kind of desperate and kind of like despicable. But nevertheless, I understand. So, I mean, I understand the aspect of the guy wanting to like, well, you seem like a great person, but I don't think you would be great for me to date. Versus the other person like, well, I just wanted to date you or get to know you better so we can move to a romantic relationship. So I mean, I understand both.
Well, here's the thing with that because you and I were friends. So why not? I think
But we was
people,
friends with a purpose, though.
yes, I understand that we was friends with a purpose,
Obviously, you
but
don't understand if you don't understand what I'm saying.
what are you saying, Dale?
We were friends with a purpose.
You just gonna repeat it?
We married now, so the purpose,
No.
so the
Oh,
purpose was completed. It was like you telling me, like, if you was like, well, I just want to be your friend, like, get to know you better.
no,
I'd
but
probably be like, nah, I'm
Dale,
good.
but no, but listen to this though. We were friends with a purpose. We had the same like end goal, if that makes sense, right?
But at the time that we met each other, we didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that, but so you talking about friends with a purpose?
I mean,
They may
I had
not
a
know.
purpose. I had a
Listen,
purpose.
okay, Dale, and I had a purpose too. Okay, there you go. We had the same purpose. Look at God. No, but what I'm saying is just that you never know where um that boundary being set in place, being in the friend zone. I think that's something to not overestimate, or underestimate, I should say, being in the friend zone with someone if you have the understanding that we're just going to be friends because they may one day, because you've been such a cool chick, such a cool, and not friends and friends with the hope of eventually sleeping with him, but friends with the hope of getting to know this person really.
I mean,
They may
nowadays,
introduce you to somebody who you really may mesh with, and they can
people
attest
aren't
to
really
your
that patient.
character. Okay. I mean, I get that, but you're right. You're right.
I mean,
But do you get what I'm
I
saying
understand what
though?
you're saying, but nowadays people aren't that patient.
Yeah,
There's
but
social media. If you don't want to date me, it's 50 million people on social media who I think want to date me, even though that's probably not the case.
yeah, oh, because they like your
Goes back
pictures
to
all the time.
goes back to my initial comment I made in the beginning of the podcast. Because of social media, it gives the illusion that I have 50 million choices, but really I don't. But nevertheless, the person doesn't realize that, so they begin to go out there and try to like see that for themselves, and they realize, oh man, all 50 women have been trash, or all 50 dudes have been trash. And then you realize, oh man, I don't have time for this, because I mean, you and I both know people who have met people on dating apps or dating websites or social media, and their response is always the same: it's trash, 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 trash. And that goes to show you that you don't have as many options as social media would like to give you the illusion of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Because quantity doesn't equal quality.
yeah, that's true. Okay, so the next one, be on time. A woman should never be late to a date. When a date arrives, you should be ready to go. That was the etiquette rule decades ago that still stands today. I don't know. I take so long to get ready. What do you think about that, Dale?
Yeah, like you was always on time.
I think it goes back again, like being respectful of who
A person's time.
a person's time. Because I mean, you never know. There was a lot of times where you and I, it wasn't necessarily a date, but we kind of met up, and because of your schedule and my schedule,
The time was sensitive.
time was sensitive, and you were like, "Well, I go on lunch break at this time. Maybe we can have lunch together."
I remember
And
those
it's only a
days.
30-minute lunch break, and I literally was there at the time. I can't believe I did that. I was pressed. I was pressed over you. Oh my
Yeah, I think about
god,
that too. Like we used to sit in the car and chill
man!
on my
I
lunch
didn't
break.
even remember those
I forgot
times.
about that.
And I used to bring lunch, and
Oh boy.
oh my
And people was
gosh,
like, look at Dale. He got a little fine thing.
oh
A little fine
okay.
tenderoni.
Why everybody sound the same to you? Like everybody's voice.
I mean, you make everybody sound like too, so what's the difference?
I just was wondering. Anyway, but yeah, so I think that does, once again, it shows respect for the person's time, and I think it also speaks to them being interested. I
I
would.
mean, not really. I mean, I know guys that said they've gone out with women that they wasn't interested in because they was bored or didn't have nothing to do that night. I don't mean nothing.
Oh, but you'll show up on time. Oh, okay, whatever. You're
I mean, if
right.
I'm bored, I mean, what else do I have to do?
You're right.
But be on time.
I guess so. All right. All right. So the next one is meet the parents. So getting introduced to your date's parents before you go out on the first date.
I don't think that really happens a lot
I don't
in
think that happens at all.
today's era. Only because me and you were talking about earlier today, was that people live so far from their parents or may live in another state. I mean, people may meet the parents during a holiday or when they go home on vacation for the summertime. Like I remember you met my family for the first time at my grandfather's funeral, and given the circumstances, like you came with me, but it's like that wasn't the most ideal time for my family to meet you. But given the circumstances, you came. That was the first time you met my family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they were so sweet too. Oh my goodness, they were. Well, this is what I was thinking. Let's say our kids are teenagers. Would you tell, our sons or daughter, like, well, I guess it would kind of be different because,
I wouldn't let my kids date at that age. I wouldn't allow it. Like allowing my kids to date at that age is promoting like I'm cool with you having sex. And I think that like at that age, because what is the purpose of dating for believers? The purpose of dating is to end up marrying somebody. And when you 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, you're just beginning life. I don't think you're ready to marry somebody. Now, if my son says, hey, I want to marry at 18, 19 years old, that's different. We can have a different conversation. But I think that when people do that at that young of an age, they're actually promoting like teen sex. It's like two young people with raging hormones and they going out exclusively. What are they going to do? End up following each other or doing whatever. I've never did promote that. I think about, I don't want to say his name on the podcast, but we seen him this week. And I remember having a conversation with him about that years ago. He was like, nah, my daughter's not interested in dating. This is like when you understand the purpose of dating, it's like you really understand like, nah, dating is for a purpose. It's to look for a wife or a husband. Otherwise, you just out there asking to get your freak on, and for me, it's like you're giving your kids the okay to start having sex at an early age. Now, if you're telling me that this is your friend, whatever, I'm cool with that. But even so, like, I'm going to question if even if I have the slightest hint that it's romantic, I'm going to begin to question that, hey, son, what are you doing? Or do you know what's going on? Like, but I think a lot of that happens because parents themselves don't understand the purpose of dating, so they don't instill it in their children to understand the purpose of dating. So it's like, nah, I don't condone that. No.
it's interesting you say that. Honestly, I didn't think about it that way. Really,
I
because
remember when I met you, Amadi was like, well, because I think Amadi was like, what he said something like, he was like, well, I hope this ain't your girlfriend, because I mean, you shouldn't be looking for a girlfriend, you should be looking for a wife. And it's like, I was like, dang, like the audacity of this guy, but it's like, he's right. You were 20, you're almost late 20s. You shouldn't be looking for a girlfriend, you should be looking for a wife. You know what I'm saying? Because he asked me, like, can you see yourself marrying this woman? You know what I'm saying? The rest is history and being married, but it's like, you have to appreciate people like that because they come to you with the purposes of God and they understand the purpose of a thing. When you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you are just sleeping around with Jim, Bim, and Tim and whoever else, Tom. It's like, yeah, by the time you 20 years old, ready to get married, you got like 25 bodies. You know what I'm saying?
25
sexually.
Oh
You know
my
what I'm saying?
gosh. It's interesting you say that because I think when I first read bringing someone home to meet the parents, I wasn't thinking about it on that perspective. I more so was thinking about it just as far as like you would start to question who you're bringing home more. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, based on what you're saying, I think it's more so to save the children from unnecessary heartbreak, unnecessary time wasted. Because I think a lot of times people say, well, you don't really find yourself until you get that first heartbreak, or you don't really understand dating.
You're not prepared to start dating at that age because you're trying to start your life. You
Well,
can't start a life and also try to date. Like, and it's funny because you and I had this conversation. I think we did it. We may have not, or I know I at least mentioned it, but I was like, yeah, I was dating this girl when I went to Job Corps and I cut her off. I was like, I was focused on getting my trade and getting a job. Like, and I knew it just wasn't, it may have been selfish, but it's like, it's not possible to try to date somebody because the first opportunity I had to get out of school, I would have probably tried to went back home and it probably would have derailed my whole life. So it's like at that age, at 18, 19, 20 years old, you're getting to a point where you can actually start your life, start your career. And it's like, you don't need to be focused on dating at that age. You need to be focused on becoming an adult, a responsible adult. And once you get that mastered and you become a responsible adult, now you're ready for marriage because you have the resources and the finances and you know what I'm saying, just the ability to take care of another person other than yourself.
see, and that's the part that I don't think people think of because it's like, well, what if they were to, they want to be married, they found someone that they want, and they both want to be together, and it's like, y'all want to be together, but it's like you were saying on one of our previous podcasts, like, love don't pay the bills. You're really going to run into a major issue. These are the things that I wish that they would teach, mothers would teach their daughters, fathers would teach their sons, and vice versa. Fathers would teach their daughters, mothers would teach their sons cooking, like seriously, culinary skills, because you have to eat every day. You have to, whether it's just you or it's you and a family, you and a husband, y'all have to eat every day. Like, I think it's cooking, taxes, and clothes. I think those are three things for me personally, because I feel like those have been struggles like in my young adult life, which, we got to eat every day. I got to figure out a meal right now with three different kids, myself, and my husband. I have to figure out a meal for everybody in this house. And it's like, if you 20 something years old and you don't know how to cook something, like that's one thing. We had Rose on the podcast a few episodes back. I'm trying to tell you, first time Rose got me in the kitchen, it was at like a retreat over the summer a few years back. And Rose was like, okay, so y'all gonna cook something, right? She brought me and her daughter. And so she was like, you know how to cook something, right? You're gonna have to know how to cook something. And I was,
To keep a man.
yeah. And so I was like, what? And at that time, I don't think you and I were get engaged just yet, but it was happening. And then, I knew it was going to happen sometime soon because we had talked about it. And so she was just like, you want to make some brownies? I said, yeah. She said, you know how to cook brownies? And I thought she was being so mean to me, but she wasn't. What she was saying was that you think you're going to keep a man and you can't cook. And it wasn't just about that, but it was about like, you got to think about these things. You got to think about putting food on the table to keep y'all living and breathing and moving.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it's interesting because like, I don't know why, but I thought about the scriptures. I thought about Abraham and his son. And like, it's like, nah, yeah, back then, like, Bama's wasn't like, ain't no dating. Like, when you seen this woman, like that was your wife, like, period. And I think that back then, of course, the culture was different. And when I say different, like, I think about it was probably free or less, a lot less distractions. I'm not saying that people didn't see like different men and different women, but I think that back then the culture was just different, where it's like whatever the father was, the son went under his care as it relates to that specific trade that he was doing until he became a certain age. Like, that's why Jesus was a carpenter. Who was a carpenter? Joseph was a carpenter. Like, that's why Jesus was a carpenter. It's like his father was a carpenter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he learned that trade probably like, if I'm not mistaken, I think in biblical times, it said the child would stay with the mother until they got to be about 5 or 6 years old. Then they would go and be with the father. And from that point forward, the father would begin to teach them different things on whatever the father's craft was. Like Peter, the apostle Peter was a fisherman. So I'm guessing his father was a fisherman. So he know how to fish. He know how to fish. So I think that it was more important that you learn to have a skill that can make money, that can help you provide and be able to bring in a level of finances so you can even be able to even take care of a wife. Nowadays it's like at 16, 17 years old, like, what you need a girlfriend for? You can't provide for her. You can't buy nothing. The car you driving probably belongs to your mom and dad. The gas that you put in the car probably come from mom and dad. The money you're using to go to the movie theater probably come from mom and dad. So it's like, you can't do anything. The only thing it's teaching you is to be alone with somebody and to let you guys just roam and end up having sex, what I'm saying, haphazardly, to be honest. That's all it's doing. It's a culture that teaches people, let's get our freak on. And then next thing you know, by the time somebody's 21 years old, they got 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to eliminate that. There is no purpose for dating or having a girlfriend or boyfriend outside of, hey, this is somebody that I like. I think I'm interested in. I want to marry. By that time, I'm hopefully you're 21, 22, 23 years old. Think about it, Sherelle. My aunt, she got married when she was like 19 years old. And my uncle was like 24, 25. He was in the military. And she was like, yeah, we know each other for like 2 or 3 months. And I was like, hold a minute. Wait a minute. What? But they've been married for like 50 some years now. And same thing with my grandma and my granddad. My grandma and granddad knew each other for like a couple months. Then they got married. They was married for like 60 some years.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
it's
the
like
same with my
back then,
grandparents.
the culture was different. Like back then, they didn't have social media and 4 and 5, different women that they could talk to or guys they could talk to. The culture was different back then.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. I think it goes back to what we were saying about being in the friend zone. I think it will be a lot less guessing about what is on a guy's mind when you actually have been friends with a guy. Not that he would tell you what's on his mind, but I was just thinking about like if I had male friends, you would know like kind of like what's on their mind, how they think, and you'd be like, as a woman, you would realize like these dudes is dumb. And just listen, as far as young and dumb, and I mean because when I had friend zoned a guy, I would realize like, man, this dude is a liar. This dude is this guy is that. So on that same note, I'm just thinking like if you were to put things in the proper perspective as far as, okay, I want to date right now because, people have been asking, that has been a topic on social media. What age would you allow your child to date? And also, would you pay for their first date? And I'm just kind of like, I'm not there yet because my kids are, they're young. They're not, no one's in their teens. And then on top of that, I'm like dating. I hadn't even started to think about that. And then I'm just like, well, would there be an age? You and I haven't talked about that. And so I was just like, would there be an age where we would allow our children to date or that's okay?
Date when you grow, period.
But what is that? But there, I wouldn't say it like that.
I'm saying it I'm saying it for the sake of the
okay.
podcast, but what I'm actually saying is I just go back to my original point. Dating is for a purpose. I'm not dating just because this is my little friend. I think she cute and I want to be exclusive. So one day we can go in the woods or go in the car in the parking lot, go in the parking lot and get our freak on. Like, nah, like that's promoting premarital sex is what it's promoting. Like parents don't even realize that. So it's like, why are you surprised when you're 13, when you're 18, 19, your daughter come up pregnant? Why are you surprised? You allow her to date and be alone with somebody, young man whose hormones are raging. He probably want to try something he's seen on a porn flick that one of his friends showed him in class or in school. It's like on your daughter, it's like, yo, but the reality of it is when you do things without a purpose, that's what happens. Like, son, can you provide for a child right now? No. Do you have a means to take care of this child? No. So right now, your focus needs to be going to school or going to a trade school or doing whatever, getting education, a form of education, whether it's a trade school or whatever, it'd be not necessarily college but if college, that's okay. But getting a form of education where they can allow you to get a form of employment that you can begin to gain money, so you can begin to learn to take care of yourself, be responsible. So that way you can be able to take on another person.
Yeah.
But apart from that, the only thing I would be teaching my son and my daughter is to how to have premarital sex. That's it.
Oh, you would be teaching them that if you were to allow them to date
Yeah.
as a teenager or even a preteen, because I think it started even earlier. Okay, that makes sense. And you know what? Also, too, I think it creates a lot of unnecessary insecurities in your children because, like, if your daughter is like so in love with this little boy that she think is cute or whatever, and you allow them to, or you foster that, you say, oh, you know, he's cute. Did you ask him to the movies or did you this or did you that? And then he say she ugly or, you know, and start dating some other girl. You know what I'm saying? I could see it. I could see it fostering unnecessary insecurity where, mind you, there was a guy. No, listen, there was a guy, he's a little boy. We in middle school. There was this little boy in middle school. He dated everybody. And mind you, he ain't take none of us out on dates. Basically, he just said we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And he broke up with me and then got with like 10 other chicks that week and broke up with them. And so I was so heartbroken.
Well, he was dating like 2 girls per day
Or something. And, you know, that created an insecurity in me where I was just
Man, get
like,
out of here, y'all.
no, for real. It did. Where like throughout middle school, I was just like, oh, on top of all the emotions and all the hormones and all the things, changes I was going through. Now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'm ugly or I'm too tall or I'm too short. And so I get where you're going with that. And I think this has been a really good conversation.
People are listening to this. I really don't expect people to understand. It's funny because like I go back to just the things that happened over the past few weeks, and I was mourning and I was angry at the Lord, and the Lord asked me, you don't actually believe, do you? So I think oftentimes with believers, what you realize is like they don't actually believe what they read in the scriptures or the God that they claim to serve. They don't really believe it because it's like when you go in and you actually visit the scriptures, pay attention to how people married in the scriptures. Like pay attention to how they married. Pay attention to when they started marrying. Like for instance, Jacob had to work 7 years for his wife's father for 7 years. Mm-hmm. During that 7 years, he was gaining job experiences, whatever his father-in-law was involved in, you know what I'm saying, as far as his working craft for 7 years. So it's like he was teaching him how to work to be able to provide for my daughter. So it's like at 17, 18 years old, what can children really do? Think about it. It's not rocket science. Like we can, well, you're being hard and I don't think that's true. Like, listen, man, if you want some little dude to go and freak your daughter, you go out ahead. That's because that's all they're going to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong in saying I don't want my son and my daughter to have friends. I do think that, you know, it's okay for you guys to have friends and everything else. But I think that one of the things with me and with the Lord is to always make sure that things are always put in their proper order and their proper perspective, period. With the Lord, things are always put in their proper order and their proper perspective. The problem is we just don't follow it. That's the problem. The problem is we just do whatever we want to do. Well, I'll follow the part of the Bible that I want to follow, and the part I don't want to follow, I just don't follow. That's how we live our lives. That's how modern day Christians govern their lives. So it's like, that's why our lives are all out of chaos and all out of order. Cause it's like this is actually a scripture Amada used to always quote to me. I believe it's in, Psalms. It says, don't awaken love before it's time. What is it really saying? Don't go out there and start doing things and getting your hormones raging and doing things that you shouldn't be doing before the appropriate time, which is when you're married. You know what I'm saying? That way you ain't got to worry. You can go ahead and eliminate having children out of wedlock or having children, you know, when you're young or whatever. But I think for me, I'm going to make sure that my children understand that there's a proper order to everything. You know what I'm saying? I want you to get grown. You can do whatever you want to do, but as long as you're my responsibility, I will make sure that you understand that everything as far as the Lord is concerned, there's a proper order and a proper perspective that should be carried out. Now, what you choose to do as an adult is up to you. I just wanted to say that because I think oftentimes whenever we talk to different believers who believe, you know, in the Lord, it's like you get 50 million answers. You're like, yo, where you getting this from? Because this is clearly laid out in the scriptures, meaning the Bible. So where are you getting it from? Because I don't know where you're getting this from because it ain't in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that that's always important. Being teens and out there doing what we're supposed to be doing. So we find out the hard way what happens when you do it that way. So my children don't have to go that way because I did it that way. It didn't work out. And the Lord had to bring me back into the proper order and the proper perspective of things. Now that I know and it's in the proper order, I can give that to my children so they don't have to go down the same mistakes that I did. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and definitely, and they don't have to create unnecessary insecurities for when they do get married. You're going to have to walk through that.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I think people also overlook. They don't think about when they're engaging in different things. On that note, I did have somebody tell me one time that, you know, that basically the husband waited to, their husband waited to, you know, engage in sexual activities or have sex until he got married. The wife did not. And so that their first time as a married couple, having sex, the experience was not the same. And so, and how saddening it was because the experience was just not the same. And so I was like, wow, I never heard that before. I never thought about that before. I didn't think it mattered. I just thought that as you getting grown or whatever, you need to have experience. It's like,
yeah,
you're not getting experience. That's a lie too. You're getting more things that you'll have to work out in your marriage. If you even do make it to marriage.
yeah, that's true. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys for rocking with us. Until next time, peace.
Thank you for tuning into today's podcast episode. Be sure to follow and share your thoughts as we continue the conversation on About This Love's Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. Join the About This Love community on Discord. The ATL podcast episodes can be found on all podcast streaming platforms. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please consider submitting a donation via PayPal or Cash App to keep our podcast going. Click on the link below to find our podcast and social media platforms. Thank you. Until next time, peace.